Hello, lads. This is the first game from recently of 2v2s with the new players. So we got, for this and for the second game, we have Liam and Baker playing on the red 4 side. We have Rob and Sean on blue 4. Baker was playing a Baltic front deck, so very meta, very strong. Um, as you can see on the screen, pretty, I would say, in Baker's style, very focused on elite high veterancy units, but not necessarily having a lot. As you can see, like most units he has in the tab is infantry, but only 36. Um, and this is pretty heavy on air power, helicopters, heavy tanks, and all that. Liam is playing a Polish deck that he made like right before this. So there's definitely some randomness in here. I don't think he was paying that much attention to his infantry transports. But looking at his deck, full plane tab, full tank tab, full infantry as pretty normal. He's got the heavy artillery and rockets. So we'll see how that does. And then on the other side, Rob is playing a Dutch deck. The Dutch are surprisingly strong because they're a DLC nation, which means it's pay to win. And his Dutch deck, as he was describing to Sean at the start of the game, is very heavy on air cav. So he only has he has a full slot of infantry and then 2 infantry recon, and only 2 of those infantry, his reserve infantry and fire support team, are not in helicopters. And then he has a lot of tanks, particularly the 2 cards of Leopard 1-5s at 17 a card is a lot. And he also has fair amount. He has, both cards of the Apaches and a pretty light plane tab. And then Sean is playing his West German deck with a few edits since the last time that he played. I think he made some drastic reductions to vehicles, added a lot more planes, shifted his infantry around. So, as we get into the game here, we're on Tropic Thunder, which is a pretty classic 1v1 map. It's also a conquest game rather than destruction, so you win by controlling zones rather than killing your opponent's units. And people are able to talk to each other, which is good. So the 2 really contested zones on this map are Foxtrot and Echo. I would say Foxtrot tends to be this Alpha Red 4-sided, and Echo tends to be Juliet-sided. So I was able to hear both people's comms at the time, and they're spent some time discussing their decks, what they got, plans. So Liam was going to take Charlie Delta, and then mostly focus on just defending Delta. And then Baker was going to take Bravo Foxtrot. Conversely, Rob was going to use a lot of his air cav to get into Echo, and then start pushing across into Delta. And then Sean was focused primarily on defending Hotel and Gulf, and as well as this town near Foxtrot, and holding off Baker. Though they didn't know which side their opposite team was going to be sending their people. So I'm going to speed through to the start of the game to get to the point where everybody's deployed their stuff. So, on blue side, let's see. So, Rob has started with 3 CVs, a truck to hold the home zone, and 2 infantry CVs and helicopters. He's got Corps Mariners, 95 in the UH-14, which is basically the Dutch Lynx. So very fast transport with 15-man commandos in it. And then these are either regular Stormtrooper or Stormtrooper 95, also in helicopters. And then he has a heavy tank, the Leopard 2A5, a very light tank in the AMX-13, IHawk for anti-plane AA, a Cheetah, which is the Dutch Gepard, for anti-helicopter, and then two Verplugen 95, which are just Dutch Dragon teams. Sean has two cards of Fallschirmjäger 90 and the CH-53G, which is very fast, but also very large. He also has an additional command infantry. He has, these are a Furnace Bearer in the Fuchs Milan, or maybe BGS, I don't quite remember. Some Jaeger, some Panzer Grenadier, a couple Leopard 1A5s, a Gepard A2 for AA, and a AT helicopter. Now, I know Sean has on his German deck the German AA helicopter, which is generally better for the opener because you can get it forward and attack enemy helicopters if they are around. And then let's look at the other. So Liam has, let's see, he has command infantry, a couple of T-55 recon tanks. Stacking recon is not useful because then the advantage of recon is that you can see is their sight, and if you have two recon in the same place, then they're both going to see the same things. Where if you split them up, you're going to have more coverage with your recon. So you should only ever bring recon in as a single unit. He has a pair of attack helicopters, a recon helicopter, Kommandosi in the Mi-2, some Polish airborne in trucks, a medium tank in the M1 Wilk, some light tanks in the T-55Ls along with the recon T-55, and some TO-55s, which are the flamethrower variant of the regular T-55, and a Sobel for anti-air. Baker, he has a command that he's left behind. He's a command he's bringing with him. He has, I swear looking at their decks is really handy. So he has, let's see, some recon infantry in up front, some Panzerjackery 90s, these are the Finnish recoilless rifle team, the Finnish infantry, they're so hard to say. He has some couple of spike teams, a couple of Groms, which are the Polish good man pads, the Finnish commando infantry, marksman for helicopters, a NUA for planes, and a T-72S. So let's get this rolling. So, interestingly, so this is sort of a fast opener because there's all these wheeled transports, which are pretty quick. But the air cav is generally faster. At least over this distance, it's probably faster. The thing with helicopters are objectively faster than anything on the ground, which makes sense because they're helicopters that are flying. But there is sort of a gradient. Over a short distance, a helicopter will be slower to actually deliver, like a transport helicopter will be slower to actually deliver its infantry than a wheeled vehicle because of the landing time of helicopters. And over a long distance, the helicopter's speed will win out. The sort of front line here is very much the weird middle where it can be either or, really depending on the helicopter's landing speed and speed, as opposed to the ground transports. But like, for example, this helicopter from Liam and these ground infantry transports arrived at about the same time to this town. So, Echo is pretty easily claimed by Rob. Delta is controlled by Liam. Sean is able to get one team of Fallschirmjäger over into this town, and Baker's big infantry force comes up into Foxtrot. And then Sean deploys mostly in this town because he and Rob were discussing this, and they thought that it would be a stretch for them to get into Foxtrot. So it's definitely a more conservative approach. So because the blue force side brought 4 commands at the start, whereas the red side only brought 3, they now have a +2 tick, which is giving them an early advantage in points. Leopard 2 easily dispatches the light tanks over here because it's just it's a 170 point tank, and these are 25 points, so they can barely hurt this thing. In addition to just much higher accuracy, it's just better. Tornado IDS comes in, bombs a transport that was visible, and gets away. Liam is bringing in a command for Delta. He also is swinging this recon helicopter out over here. Leopard 1A5 is picking off some transports that are visible. They are regular trained. Again, this is a 90 point tank against a 170 point tank at close range. So the 90 point tank is able to scratch the armor of the Leopard 2A5, and the Leopard 2A5 is able to absolutely demolish it. And it also has another light tank in support. And these Super Dragons can also help. Over here, this recon was flying out, but got spotted, so Rob bought a Apache, which went and killed it with its gun. But yeah, right now it's at this moment it's pretty stale. People are sort of naturally afraid to attack and advance, which attacking across the rivers are very difficult, and the forces are fairly evenly matched, but yeah, Liam has bought in a artillery piece, which is a sniper artillery, so super long range, doesn't fire that many shells, but does a lot of damage. Also brought in a Jeep bomber, which destroyed some light, I think a light tank, but this cheetah was able to shoot it down. Oh, it also killed a cheetah. Baker brought in a big attack plane run, so air superiority fighter, a SEAD, which killed this cheetah over here, and as well as the Syria 30 Polish attack plane, or AT plane, which missed both missiles on the 1A5s here, which is pretty unlucky. Some more artillery has been brought in. So Sean has brought in his Mars cluster rockets, and Rob has brought in the M110A2, which is another sort of sniper artillery. And the Mars is shooting at these exposed transports, which will definitely are handy, particularly the KT transports. it's not like a huge loss. Over here, the Apache fought with the two Mi-24Ws with their guns, which is a super weird thing to happen, and the Apache has the advantage in accuracy, so it's able to shoot down one, and then with the targeting system hit, Elitile Liam has to pull back from it. But this Apache is pretty heavily damaged. Baker's bringing up a command for Foxtrot. Rob has continued to reinforce Foxtrot as well. He has brought up some three reserve infantry squads, the Leopard 1A5, some Verplug coming up, a IHawk for AA, another helicopter. As well as Sean is reinforcing the left flank here with extra infantry. And more AA. Liam is bringing up more tanks. This tank is spotted, so it is being shelled by the artillery here. And then because it's panicked, it's only on one hit point left. These tanks are able to, I think, kill it, but he might lose one because this tank is showing its side to this tank. So if it hits, it's probably... Oh, it's severely damaged. And the Leopard 5 is coming up, so this tank gets the hit on this one. And then the Leopard 5 kills this damaged Wilk. But should lose to the other Wilk. And it does. Another air raid coming in, but not really finding any targets. This was a big loss for Rob because his Leopard 2A5 shouldn't really have been in this position. So units on the map, if they're in cover, so towns or forests, and they can't be seen by the enemy, they have this sort of flashy, like transparent thing on their unit card. And if they're in the open, or they can be seen by your opponent, their like symbol on the map is solid colored. So once Rob came up here and saw that his tank was solid color, he should have retreated it, because at that point you have a 170 point tank which the enemy can see, and then shoot artillery at, bring in AT planes, and generally go, oh, that's a big threat, and kill it. Because if you can't see things in Wargame, it's very hard to kill them. But if you can see things in Wargame, it's generally pretty easy to kill them. So, and then, obviously, once it got shelled and it was detracked, he couldn't retreat it. But he should have pulled back immediately once it was seen. Additionally, this sort of position, I guess it's good for covering this wide open area, but considering that there's this forest right here and this town, and it's so easy for things that are much cheaper than a 170 point tank to get in range of it and really heavily damage it. The Super Heavy's advantage is their power at range. They don't want to be in close. Baker is bringing in an enormous bomber with an enormous bomb to hit this town where he saw infantry moving. And I think this is a pretty effective strike. Yeah. Well, I guess it hurts, but wasn't exactly on target. So yeah, this moving across the town is infantry in the open is easy picking for these tanks. Um, this artillery is being used to smoke, but smoking, this is, I would say, the weakness of the sniper artillery is smoking, because it can only fire 2 shells. This tank, that was in a PT-9120, which is the Polish heavy tank, and it was picked off by this Apache, because the AA is in a position where it is smoked, which is, Rob made a good move of smoking off the AA in order to move his Apache up. And then this road, the PT-91, was choking his life. However, he smoked off the tank, or the AA with this. He killed the tank. He killed like 165 point. He killed an 85 point tank, and he charged his helicopter forward, even though he knows there's AA in the smoke, and infantry and all sorts of stuff. Don't do that. This thing is 130 points. It's super expensive. You shouldn't charge it forward. It's a huge waste of money. And this should be dead. He's very lucky to have it survive. Like, insanely lucky. This plane comes in and is stunned by the first hit of the IHawk, which means it doesn't get a run in. I will also say this is a 135 point airplane to kill a 130 point helicopter, so it's like sort of an even trade, but air superiority fighters are way more valuable than attack helicopters, and chucking expensive air superiority fighters at attack helicopters is really cost ineffective. In comes another big bombing run. Heavy bomb coming in. The Syria again misses both of the missiles on the Martyrs. But after this bomb, Baker really needed some infantry to immediately follow up this attack and go into the town before it can be reinforced, or the infantry can, more infantry can move in. Or if infantry were still alive after that attack, they could be, before they, regain their morale and aren't stunned and stuff. Also, this plane has been circling on 1 HP for several minutes, and luckily it's in the back, where it's safe from AA, but this really should just be evac'd immediately. Because all this time, this plane is spent here flying at 1 HP really dangerously, is time that it could be off the battlefield safe repairing. Also, planes that spend lots of time using fuel means it's no longer use. Also, that was like a 25 point supply helicopter that was traded a 135 point airplane with. Good thing though was using artillery, saw that there was a missile out of this forest, artillerying the missile, the AA here. Additionally, using the cluster rockets on this position. I don't know why this air superiority fighter came in and strafed here, but it barely gets away. And strafing, it's not World War II, guys. Strafing is something that you do in desperation or against the AI when you know that there's no AA. But you shouldn't be doing it in multiplayer games. It's just way too risky for very expensive aircraft. He almost lost that aircraft for nothing, and it's 140 points. And the range of ground against aircraft with their guns is 1,575 meters generally, which is not that short. It means they have to get really low and spend a lot of time in range of AA. So usually they'll die if there's even one AA around. There's a very good chance they'll get shot down. And strafing, even with the airplanes that have good guns for strafing, so the best Harrier the Americans have, the A-10, Su-25s, the MiG-27, even those guns aren't that effective. So it's just, the guns are an afterthought. It's the 1990s. You don't want to use that. Liam did have a very good SEAD run, coming in and killing 2 cheetahs. and he's bringing in bombers to follow up, which is smart. I think it is better to have your SEAD with your bombers because you can turn. Um, so Baker and Liam use their SEAD planes very effectively and kill a lot of AA over the course of this game. A lot of radar AA. The way you can protect your radar AA from SEAD is by turning it off, turning off the weapons, which the default hotkey is H. So if you select it, hit H. They'll turn their weapons off. They obviously won't shoot with their weapons. I'm going to pause here because there's a thing coming in. They obviously won't shoot with their weapons, but SEAD can't see them, can't target them. They're safe. Additionally, SEAD can only fire their missiles in front of the airplane. So advanced sort of strategy that you can do to break against SEAD airplanes with your ground radar AA is when you see the SEAD plane coming in, you can turn your radar AA off. Wait for the SEAD plane to fly over you or turn around and not be facing your radar piece, and then turn your weapons on and shoot at it. The thing that I've been doing recently, I've been trying to get in the habit of, is putting all my radar AA on the map on the same control group, selecting them all and hitting I've been putting it on 5 and having all their weapons off, on default. And then if I see an airplane, or if there's a helicopter or something in range, if I see an airplane, turning all my radar on if it's not a SEAD plane, and then turning it off once the planes are gone. Or if there's a helicopter close by to it, turning the radar on just for that piece and then turning back off again. But that's definitely micro-heavy advanced strats. So, additionally, Rob has made a push across the river. He's smoked off this side, but he's attacking through here. So this is sort of the wrong area to smoke. Additionally, he has infantry. These infantry are reserve infantry, so they are garbage. They're not going to win a fight, particularly against infantry in towns, even with good fire support. Well, they might with really good fire support, but they're not that good. Additionally, he is leading with his tanks rather than his infantry. And so his infantry are behind and his fire support is in front. Now, all Liam would need to do, really, to completely destroy this push is take these 2 squads of Polish airborne, hopscotch them up to this town and then to this town, into range of their 24 AP power RPG-7s, and these tanks are toast. This tank's getting 1 shot, this tank's getting 2 or 3 shot. This tank's always getting 1 shot. And then that's a huge amount of points down the drain. These guys aren't going to make it. And same, these Commandosi, all they need to do is hop over to this building, and they're getting side or rear shots onto this tank. And again, these tanks charges forward into buildings. This is a terrible idea. This thing should be eaten alive by infantry. And that's what happens. Commandosi moves over. These Jaguars were shooting at it, but the Commandosi came over, got a side shot. And these infantry, they're toast. They're out in the open against spec ops at close range. So when you're attacking towns, the way this would have worked would be better infantry, smoking for Rob, smoking along this road to sort of cut in half, keeping his tanks on this side of the river where they're in range of anything that's shooting at your guys from the edge of the town, but also completely safe even from the Commandosi with their 875 range RPG. You're probably going to be pretty safe on the other side of the river. And using good infantry like Stormtrooping to cross the river. so that when they actually get into the town, they might actually win the fight. Sako comes over. Syria comes in. No targets for them to spotted, unfortunately. And then, again, they really need... Baker really needs some infantry to follow up his attacks with. This Peace Rhine is coming in to shoot at helicopters. It's a 100-point aircraft shooting at an 85-point helicopter. Does 5 damage to it and is shot down. Do not use expensive aircraft on helicopters. It's not worth it. This AH-64, this Apache comes in and does spot the command, but misses the missile, and then is able to shoot at these Jaguars because they're out in the open, and then is able to start shooting at these infantry. Again, infantry get killed. If there was some infantry pushing from Baker, like these Panzerjackery, be so easy to take this town right now with all this fire support here. And again here, pushing, but leading with the most expensive tank you have. This Leopard 2A5 should be a huge target for AA. And again, if there was any infantry in this town, it's showing its side armor to it, which, like 24 AP to 9 side armor, it's get one shot by a 20-point infantry unit. It's panicked. It's stunned. This plane didn't drop its bombs, so it got shot down. Even when it's showing, this Leopard is showing its front armor, it takes a ton of damage from RPGs. And because there just isn't the weight of infantry here, the stock trooping gets done and they lose. I believe something was able to kill, I think it might have been this Leopard 285 was able to kill this command. This is in a strange position where the Cheetah is able to provide fire support on the Commandosi, which really damages them. But, yeah, additionally, these infantry should be moved up to the front. Because there's no reason this Leopard 285 should be able to exist this long. And then, because this command is dead, the Blue 4 is getting +2 tick, and then this command, which was sort of hanging out in Echo, is getting brought up immediately. So at this point, Liam should really be just hunting for this command with everything he's got, and should be thinking about, he or Baker should be bringing in another command just as quick as possible. This is a good push here because there's no AA. It kills the tanks, kills the infantry, takes the town. It's good. Bringing in an air superiority fighter to shoot at SEAD is a good way to counter SEAD, but that was one of the F-16s that only has aim 9, so short range infrared missiles, and look how close it had to get. It had to get like to here before it was shooting at a plane over here. And it was easily handled by Baker's air superiority fighter, and it was overflying AA, which is why I really don't like those short range air superiority fighters, even if they do have good missiles and good ECM. These infantry really need to just stay in the town. In comes a KWS, and it's just strafing, and overflying AA. And it gets lucky because I think this marksman has to reload because it was shooting at a helicopter. But again, this is not worthwhile. So yeah, this +2 tick is really devastating. It goes quickly. I think it's every... Let's see how long it takes to tick. So there was a tick at 1707. And so it ticks like every 5 seconds. So anything more than a +1 tick in a game of Conquest is an emergency. A +1 tick is still bad. You'll still eventually lose. But like +2 is an emergency. And if you're at like +4, you're losing very quickly. So Baker and Liam really need to be communicating with each other and be like, who has money for a CEV right now to get into Delta and even the score. Baker is sort of bringing in a bit of a Helo spam here, but you know, it's valid. He's killing all their AA, so like, you know, if they can't handle it, you know, do what works. What I would like to see is his helicopters that are low on ammo or damaged fly back to the FOB super quickly, like the Sokol, land, rearm, come back. These Jaguars should really just be a few feet over here in the woods where they can't be seen and they're safe. This is good coordination from Liam and Baker, where Liam has artillery. Baker is marking where he thinks, I think particularly enemy AA is, that he's spotted with his seaplane. Or just enemy troop concentrations, and is calling in, like, oh hey, putting down attack markers of, hey, there's stuff here. It's like he's put a attack marker right on this cheetah. Oh hey, here's those helicopters going back, like I asked them to. Good job, Baker. I think this Jet Ranger gets very lucky. Yeah, and this IHawk is out of missiles. Yeah, so here's Liam finally bringing in a command after they've given up like 250 points. Yeah, this artillery, I think it's either getting called in on this one or this one. And this is like, artillery like this should be being used to hit expensive stuff, like expensive and weak to explosion stuff, like, you know, 70-point AA pieces. There's this Mars, I think there's no reason why it shouldn't, the way that this Mars should be being used is it should be over by the FOB, and you should not just keep it next to the FOB and reload, and same with like all artillery, shouldn't just sit next to the FOB and auto reload. Oh, this is a great SEAD run here. Comes in, kills like 3 AA pieces. And then there's more stuff. There's a bomber coming in. This comes in, they shoot at the Tiger, kills a Leopard 2A4. Syria done good stuff. There is still more AA, but these Leopards should be very vulnerable. This AA needs to be up to like this edge of the forest because its line of sight is blocked. It needs to be on the edge. Tiger is down to the Sokol. This artillery isn't going to hit helicopters. Yeah, the markers need to stop the helicopters and have the rockets and missiles shoot at them. This F-16 is coming in to shoot at helicopters that are far less expensive. I think so. You don't want to. This looked like it was fire positions, the KWS, and that's not. You just want to, with air superiority fighters, you want to bring them in and directly attack what you want them to, or just move them towards enemy aircraft, and they'll fire anyways. These bombers are circling way too much. They're gonna get shot down by stuff. But this helicopter force is able to kill the command here. And this command here, I think, also was bombs and died. So there's a +4 to Liam and Baker, which is pretty strong. So anyways, artillery. I would say it's not good against better players. It is not good to keep your artillery stationary and just hanging out near your fob. Because with these, like the sniper artillery, you sort of have to keep them near the fob because they have so few shots. But this microing this truck back and forth to the fob is one. It takes a lot of time because the truck has to drive all the way around over here, and then all the way back, fill up, and all the way here, and fill up the rockets. Like the artillery has wheels of its own. So what would be better is to have this rocket truck on this road, moving back and forth, never firing from quite the same place. So that if somebody tries to bring in a sneaky bomber, or, you know, counter artillery's it won't be hit by that because it will be moving around. And it can drive back to the fob, refill, drive somewhere else, shoot, and be less vulnerable, and you'll get more shots off than this ferrying supplies back and forth. Big helicopter response to this, which is, I guess, okay. So there's a smoke on the bridge from Liam, but ultimately, yeah, he needs infantry, and generally I would say attacking across this bridge into the town, or really the ideal scenario is attacking across this bridge with fire support, and then coming from this bridge and attacking across this open field and attacking from 2 points. And charging helicopters forward. He gets lucky, and then the artillery happens to kill the thing it's shooting at, and then these Sovals just move up, and they're shooting at the Stott Trooping. But again, charging expensive helicopters forward is foolish. And these helicopter pushes that Baker are doing are working because he keeps killing the AA over here with SEAD planes, and these helicopters are not as expensive. They're only like 50, 65 points. The most expensive are 85, as opposed to 130 point Apaches. Particularly the weapons on these Apaches as well. They're Hellfires. They have 2,800 meter range, which is really far. It's one of the longest range helicopter missiles in the game. So you can be so far away from the things you want to shoot at. Like, if you're out in the open, you can outrange Zobels. So, yeah. Additionally, I would say that this ITO from Baker is much too far back. It's not close enough. These NUAs are in decent positions for defending this town. You probably should have moved them up as he advanced. Just so, because if they're like here, then they're protecting more of his forces and projecting even more danger area for enemy aircraft. charging his helicopters forward, but he hasn't done the same prep with SEAD as Baker has. So these are easily able to be killed by the AA that's here. And there's also plenty of non-radar AA in the area, so that was a huge waste of points. Additionally, this rocket artillery is way too close to the area. It's like 17-kilometer range. It can be back at base as well. And here comes SEAD planes, presumably to pave the way for another helicopter push. And also just they've been killing a lot of SEAD, a lot of stuff. So overflying, air superiority fighters in to protect them. The air superiority fighters don't need to be overflying as well or attacking. Like this plane is coming in and attacking 35-point transport helicopters and then getting shot down. And these don't even have guns on them. They're 20-point transport helicopters. They don't have guns on them. They dropped off their stuff. Like, this is a huge waste of value. Like, it's not destruction, and even if it was destruction, the plane is worth way more than these. And you might only have, like, 2 air superiority fighters, and there's gonna be, like, potentially dozens of these transport helicopters running around. It's just not worth it. Yeah, and then these, like, helicopters really shouldn't be near towns, especially when you know that your opponent has been using, like, man pads, but just like, yeah, this helicopter comes forward, gets hit by a missile, easy. So this helicopter attack, really they should, I would say, because the helicopters are so much faster than the tanks and like ground vehicles, you should really start moving your ground units forward, and then once your ground units are in contact and starting to spot stuff in particular, you can bring the helicopters forward and really open up. You can also remount your infantry into vehicles so that they move faster. Yeah, so again, bringing in a helicopter to shoot this stuff is ineffective. Because this Flak Panzer wasn't at the edge of the forest already, as these helicopters started to move in, it's in range of their rockets, so it takes damage and is lucky to survive. And these tanks move forward a little bit, but they need to be moving forward much more. Because if these tanks had moved ahead first, and then this the Flak Panzer moved up, like, as soon as it appeared at the edge of the woods, it would be getting shot at and probably destroyed by these 2 heavy tanks. And then it wouldn't have shot down all these helicopters. Yeah, so at this point, just a quick push. I think there was a lucky bomb strike that killed the CV here. But, again, leading with tanks on the assault here and no infantry Liam sort of expended all his forces in this crossing, but this counterattack isn't going to be effective either, just because you're leading with tanks. And this party is also deeply in trouble because it is on its own as a tank. And again, infantry, but at this point, Liam and Baker are getting sort of desperate to get any points on the board, so there's only 2 minutes left. Just trying to get in, kill commands, all that stuff. This is a bomb. Yeah, so the heavy bombs don't affect tanks that well, unless they're the laser guided bombs, which attack top armor rather than front. You can hear this helicopter charges forward. You could have stayed like all the way back here, shooting at the vehicles, and been well out of range of the missiles. So some more bombing strikes coming in. Some SEAD. Sort of looking for any targets. Using bombers with just their gun to attack helicopters, like, it isn't that effective because they have so little time to shoot that it's really not that much time to do any damage. So, bombs in the vicinity. This big bomber might get this. It was probably going to hit these guys right at the end. So yeah, pretty close game on command points, like only 76 in difference. Liam and Baker actually were positive on kills versus their losses, but it's not destruction. So they definitely, the fact that they didn't have that one command loss and was really what sunk them. But definitely things for everybody to work on. Leading your attacks into towns with infantry. I wasn't hammering this on in talking about the game, but using more recon. Everybody I'd say except Baker, and I'm accepting sort of the last 5 minutes where he and Liam were desperate, but everybody other than Baker were very wasteful with their planes, attacking targets that were way less valuable than their planes, or that they were unlikely to kill, just not cost efficient. Definitely some more. People could use their artillery more efficiently, particularly that Mars rockets could probably have gotten off like 3 or 4 more barrages if it didn't have to worry about the supply truck going back and forth to refill it slowly. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned stuff, and I'll see you for the next one.